Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Decloak podcast. We have a very special series in mind. It's the Founders Series, and I am joined here with Nelson Soares, founder and CEO of C-Vision International. How are you?
Very well, good pronunciation there, Leo.
I know, this has been stressing me out for like weeks. Everyone at C-Vision will be sick of me, but ultimately I wanted to start a new series within the YouTube channel, primarily around people I know that have built successful companies. And also, you and I go back a few years now. You also gave me a great opportunity to be a speaker, chair different panels and everything else, and ultimately help kind of launch an aspect of my career when it comes to public speaking. So it's only fair we do this in return, and we give more of an insight around what C-Vision is and its benefit and how it became what it became. So we're going to kick off with the background and inspiration for C-Vision. For me, I'm absolutely geeking out about this because I've always wanted to know and always wanted to ask these questions. So our first question for you is, what was the spark or the aha moment that led you to start C-Vision?
Two of them, actually, Leo, right? If anything, by the way, thank you. Because of guys like you, C-Vision exists, okay? So we appreciate your commitment to the time and efforts that you actually step aside to come and help us out and whatnot. So very grateful for that, right? We were in San Francisco when we first had the conversation. Miguel and I, my business partner, the co-founder, right? And we, at the time, we worked for a different company, no need to mention the name. And there's a story of the shrimp,
Okay.
right? Three of us, we were having this cocktail reception at the RSA, and I'm just going through the shrimp, as I do, right? But one of the individuals from the company, one of the high levels, said to Miguel and the other fella, "Don't touch the shrimp. Right? Don't eat the shrimp." That's the sort of culture that we were all part of, right? And I couldn't stop laughing after the champagne and whatnot. And the day after, we sat down in Union Square. We're just looking at one another as we go through the emails, some very nasty emails, right? And I just looked at her and I said, "I think we could do much better," right? We're in the industry business of people, and I think we can do better, right? So that was the first trigger. Months after, right, I left the company. She was still there, and I was doing something else. I wasn't really sleeping, all right, and I could tell. And the biggest kick in the butt, if you want to call it, was my wife, the meal. She realized I just wasn't happy doing what I was doing, which was software sales. I was good at it. I know people like you, CISO, CIO, so it was easy to open doors and whatnot. But it wasn't my passion. And just out of night to day, all right, I was just told, "Listen, you've been thinking about it for a while, go ahead, get going." And that's how we all started, right? Ultimately, we had some moving because I had to go back to Miguel to convince her that the idea is still fresh. I knew I didn't want to do it by myself to begin with. That wasn't the purpose of running an organization. But yeah, so there's the story right there. And it all started with a shrimp in the RSA.
And hopefully there's no casualties at the end of that shrimp.
No, it wasn't.
And then speaking of like, who are your biggest influences and mentors when you started C-Vision then? Because I've always kind of looked towards, obviously, you as being, the person that's kick-started this. Obviously, you have an amazing team of people that support. But leading up to that, who were your influencers or mentors?
Very good question. I've been lucky enough. This industry has been really good to me. I've been privileged to be amongst some of the greatest thought leaders, greatest brains I've ever come across. Both IT, CIOs, CISOs, CEOs, CFOs, you name it, right? So I've always had a good backbone structure of mentorship. Many names come into mind, not to forget any. Paige Adams, I still love the guy. From Zurich, I think he just moved to Switzerland now. Scott Dillon, who's still great friends today, right? Families get along very fine. He used to run IT for Wells Fargo. Carl Mattson, right? He's been a fantastic friend of mine and a great mentor for many, many years. He doesn't believe so, but right, I've learned quite a lot from him. Larry Whiteside, Devin Bryan, Shamlin Naidoo, right? I've got so many individuals that have been there for me just when I most needed them, just to, give me that strength in the moments of weakness, specifically when I thought to myself, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Right. But the biggest strength that I got, right, the biggest mentor that I received was my wife.
Yeah.
Because without her support, none of this would have been possible. Forget it, right? I needed to ensure that during the pandemic, I'm not just about to do something crazy, right? The emergency cash, right? The one you saved was dwindling fast, right? I needed to know that family was okay, that she was okay with it, and she was the biggest support of them all.
Yeah, and obviously I've met your wife before at one of the events, and she often speaks about the kind of the madness and obviously the fear, but ultimately I think it's amazing to have that person close to you who's willing to obviously support you and help you on that journey. And I think that's when I discovered you guys, was during the lockdown, just the absolute madness of it. And then it's like, well, what can we do? And then obviously there was a lot of virtual things, and that I think really helped, predominantly in my community of cyber, really helped galvanise people together, because it was quite bleak and there was no community. And I think one of the key elements that I've discovered through C-Vision was that building the community of people, and sharing that knowledge and being part of that, for me has been excellent. And anybody watching this, please attend these events, because they definitely help share information and cross-pollinate what we're trying to do in the industry. But we're still on the subject of the inspiration and background. So what did you want to be when you were a kid? And then how did that evolve into starting a company? I know it's like, we don't need to cover 30 years or whatever
No.
yeah.
I can summarize that very quickly. I didn't have a bloody clue, did I? We came from a well-off family in Africa, right? When we left Africa, all we knew was poverty, right? Concrete slipping on the floor, ceiling is leaking, people dying around you, pure ghetto. In Lisbon, nothing changed much when I moved into London. Very rough neighborhood, right, and whatnot. It's changed a lot, by the way. Every time I come and visit now, I'm like, goodness me, is this really where I grew up? Right? No, not many people. Look at my cousin as an example, very bright individual, right? Just spends most of his days in prison, so not many people really came out. A lot of my friends really didn't make it. So it sounds like a movie. I understand those movies now in a bit more detail because I had to go through it, right? So to be quite honest, the one thing I just wanted to do was to get out of that environment. I really never felt like I want to be a racing driver or whatever it may have been, right? A businessman. I just knew that I had to do something to get out of that environment and to do something better, all right? My mother and my father, they sacrificed a lot for us, right? One of 9.
Wow.
Right. Yeah, I know. And I just knew that I did not want to waste that sacrifice. So to answer your question blatantly, I didn't know what I wanted to do, right? And I don't think anything changed after graduation either, to be quite honest.
I think it's through struggles, that's when you start to, maybe you find yourself in an unconventional path, or you're in a job that you don't really like, and then, as you say, that light bulb moment, back to the shrimp. And then you're like, right, we can do better here, and then that kind of propels you. I think sometimes, just getting out of your situation that in itself is just the achievement. Then anything else is a bonus. Now, moving into the early days then of C-Vision, what were the early days of the company like? Any funny or memorable moments?
Yeah, there were funny moments that came with sweat, blood, and tears, right? The one that comes into mind, in all honesty, it's may he rest in peace, but the guy that built our website, our very first website, Travis, phenomenal guy, and I met him through my wife, Emil. He built a Monterey Security, where she used to work. He built a website, but he was also a photographer, right? Phenomenal eye and creativity, we didn't really have to do much with him, just give him a bit of direction. But when Mina and I and Miguel were actually sat down, right, just hours and hours and hours trying to get that right, Miguel and I were the most impatient people you could ever meet, all right? We just short fuse, and we just, Travis, what the heck is going on? We're always on his case, right? Yet for some reason, he always came at me and not us. And we would laugh at that offline, right? That's a very good, memorable moment out there, because, it was tough to build that moment And when we look back and, maybe we were a bit too rough on him in many different ways, but we were so very stressed trying to get things up and running.
Because essentially it's the front window, the company. It's like, as fickle as it sounds, it's the aesthetics, and you need to get that right. So again, you'll hear many founders and creators of companies, and that's like, to them, that's the first thing they need to get done right, because that's then sets the precedent for everything else.
And I never understood, certain websites you're looking like, what the heck is what's just happening? How do you like that? And we just wanted the website to be pure. Yeah. We wanted people to look at and say, whoa. And that's pretty much what we accomplished after weeks and weeks of building it. But poor Travis, right? He would just sit down there and hear it from me and Miguel, but yet, for some reason, he always went against me, and we could never figure out why. But I don't think we ever will. Unfortunately, he did pass from COVID during the pandemic. So we never really got to his dream, which was stage 2 and 3. But fundamentally, he was one of the key figures to put C Vision in the map. And for that, he always will be remembered.
Yeah, and I think it's good to recognise that hard work as well. And, as a result of Travis's work, it's testament to where everything is now, which is excellent. And then, how did you come up with the name of C Vision International?
That's a good one, right? Because they had those shitey names going through my mind and whatnot, right?
I love your Scottish use of the word shite. I love that, yeah.
One of my best mates, Barry, he's actually in Scotland right now. He's Scottish, so that all comes out and whatnot. But it was difficult, all right, because most names that I was coming across, and at the time I couldn't really communicate as much as I would have wanted with Miguel, and the other business partner was nowhere near to be found as he was, the other co-founder on Mina, right? And I'm not very creative. That's the reality of it, right? I'm very basic, very traditional, old school. And as I thought of names, most of the names that was coming as an idea were all based on a single type of organization that could never scale to something different. And the one thing I knew I did not want to is to just be an events organization. We wanted to do more for the community, right? And ultimately, Demiel, my wife, came up with the name C Vision International, right? And it was a combination of different things that we were throwing at each other, Miguel and I, and whatnot. And she just came out and, why don't you do C Vision? Yeah. And then we just thought about the international piece on top of that. But
I'll flip this question. What was the craziest name you came up with?
Goodness me. I would have to go back to my notes, which I do have it, right? But there was some insane names that just did not make sense. Yeah. It was as good as when I try and actually buy something to the house, like a sofa or paint the walls, and she just pretty much tells me, "Don't be stupid." Stay way away from that. Yeah. Very similar to that kind of stuff.
And I'm hearing an underlying theme of, obviously, your wife's playing a key part at everything in this. Like obviously supporting you, the whole aspect of probably raising the family well. You're obviously trying to scale this as well, and I think definite. She needs a pay rise.
Absolutely, and from that perspective, right? And as you know, I've been working with cybersecurity for a very long time, right? And those guys really taught me quite a lot as well. And to understand that, she's the chief of staff today. Yeah. Not only for the company Armor Code, but she's also the chief of staff in my house. Yeah. Right. And I've been grateful enough not only to watch her, but when you look at what Miguel was going through, she just had a very recent born child, right? And now you're trying to bring out this company, and all you can hear is freaking screams everywhere and everything. Exciting, but hard work. I gotta give it to those ladies, right? They really make us look very tiny.
Absolutely. Listen, we're just insignificant when it comes to our perspective of our half.
One came up with the name of the company, and the other one over a bottle of wine late. He must have been 1:30, 2:30 in the morning, something like that. I don't remember the exact time. So Miguel comes up with the motor, right? And in between the two, we kind of combined it, but it was all down to the wine. Fixes everything.
Shrimp and wine.
Shrimp and wine.
There we go. Listen, we might get a sponsor on this on the back of some shrimp, but can you run me through a story of a time when it went wrong, like in the early days, and how did you handle that?
It didn't really go wrong. Okay, I had to think about that for a very long time, right? What has gone wrong? Well, everything goes wrong because we're dealing with people, right? Whether it was day one or today. People are just naturally never happy. They always want more. Customers always demand more, which is fine. we live for that, right? But the one thing that could have gone extremely wrong, we launched without a website, right? Our very first product sold, we didn't have a website. So we utilized our people skills to sell an idea without really thinking what the heck we were about to do. But you're bootstrapping in many different ways, and you're hearing it, and you're not just taking it because you feel like I need the cash. That wasn't the case at all. We were just listening. We're like, okay, we can actually do that, right? But the client was so synced with us as individuals, we never really got to, can you show the website? Can you show us? We didn't have it ready. So that's the only thing that I could really think that it's worth sharing, right? Because like I said, there's always a bad story, right, left, center, no matter how good you do. It's just the nature of the business.
Yeah, exactly. And it's about kind of adapting. And then speaking of adaptation, your company culture and team is the next segment I want to talk about. Is how would you describe your company culture in one sentence?
We're dynamic.
I like it.
Yeah, dynamic it is. Yeah, we got a lot of energy to do what we do.
I would say it's some of the hardest working people I've ever seen.
Yes.
Like in terms of the amount of coordination, the drama that must go on in the background, the amount of logistic when it comes to location, hundreds of different people, even sometimes thousands of people that need to be involved. And and I would also say there's just an authenticness I love about C-Vision, right? And obviously I was quite apprehensive when, I was asked to speak, and you're like, oh God, I'm going to be absolutely terrible at this. And every single person made you feel part of the journey and just really nice and down to earth. And I think, you're not bombarded at these events. There's no one hassling you. For me, the community side of it is something that is an absolute key strength of C-Vision, and that's testament to the people that work under you, and then you've obviously hired really good people. So maybe if you've got any hiring tips at some point, we can follow up on a secondary episode. But talk me through some quirky tradition or ritual that your team has. I bet, minus the tequila.
Well, what is the problem? The company was pretty much founded under a bottle of wine, so we don't really follow too many traditions, except the fact that when we do get together, because we were born virtually. Until this day, I still don't know the entire company. Right. There's people in our European offices which I still haven't met. So whenever we do try and get together, right, one of the things that we do enjoy doing is going for a meal and get down with it. Just have a bit of fun. Get down with it. Right. Get down with it. Just have a little bit of fun. Just forget about everything around us, the hard work, the commitment, the energy and the drive that goes into it. So I just usually say go crazy, but we tend to do that in the last night so no customers see us.
And I think, but it's good though. It's good for people to have that allowance that their CEO, their boss, whatever it may be, allows them to blow off a bit of steam, because people work hard. They obviously hammer what needs to be done, and then it's having that nice release. And one of the quirky, and some of my teams that I've led, some of the quirkiness we would have is we would take them to, you're going to laugh at this, and it'll probably tie into some of our conversation earlier, was the dungeons. the Edinburgh Dungeons was a place we'd take folk, and honestly, like, would just terrify folk, and I think it was good to kind of see the whites of their eyes and see what they were made of and have a good laugh at the end of it, because I know the end.
Like that.
I know what's going to happen at the end.
Like
so
that.
Next time we're in Scotland, we'll take a C-Vision crew to the
Straight
dungeons.
to the dungeons. All right. We do like to be the last man or woman standing. So beware of that.
And if your company were a character in a movie, right, what would it be and why?
Gosh, that was a tough one. It still is, isn't it? When you think about it, there's so many different characters out there and whatnot, which came through my mind. But, the one that I like the most, right, is The Rock.
All right.
Right? That's just because of the size, the sheer size, and the intelligence that comes with that size, and the willingness to just beat the person next to you. Right? And that's what I think C-Vision is all about, right? Which is, we're probably not the smartest of the bunch, right? But from a stamina standpoint and willingness to do well by our customers, right, we're going to outlast anybody energy-wise, right? And that's who The Rock is. He's not the smartest of the bunch, right? But he's going to outwork you.
Yeah.
So says his T-shirt, and he does that. Wherever he goes, to the gym, into the office, if you follow him, that's just who he is, acting, right? And many people told him no.
Yeah.
Right? Many people told us no. This is not possible. I'm like, yeah, it is actually. All right, just watch us. Yeah. So that's the one that I feel like I would compare it to.
I love that underdog vibe, that theme, and like when I obviously first got involved with you guys, I like that. Yeah, you know, I've been an underdog in many situations, probably like people watching this, and you know, you've built a company. Well, obviously, multiple different things going on in your life during probably the worst time that people will experience in modern history, and you've come out the other end of it because you've endured.
Yeah. When you think about, you know, the industry itself, we pretty much all been there in the same organizations, and we decided to go and do this ourselves, and not many survived.
Yeah.
Right. And to us, we came right through the pandemic, and we got companies like Evanta, right, to fight with, and not only that, to make it life tougher. Gartner acquires them, even more capital, you know, for them to be who they are. And you look at them, people are just going to say, you can't do that. You're going to fail, right? That kind of excited us in many different ways, right? Even to this day, we don't fear that. We get excited by it. And, you know, today we're privileged to pretty much say we got the exact same speakers, the same communities, the same audiences, right? We just do things different. Yeah. And of course, from a buyer standpoint, better.
Yeah, I mean, you add a personal touch. These companies like Gartner and everyone else, it's more about the fill in a platform or come to this webinar, and it's like, you know, that personal touch is missing. And again, when you become so big, people forget their roots, and it sounds like C-Vision will ultimately never forget their roots. I hope this video doesn't come out 10 years from now when people say, I told you.
We won't. That's the one thing that, you know, people that have known me for a very long time, and some of my friends that have gone and became very successful, very successful. The one thing they usually say, one was interviewed not long ago, and I guess somehow I came to the conversation, that interview, nothing to do with anything else. And what was said was, the guy doesn't change. It doesn't matter if he's speaking to the Queen or to Leo or whoever it is. He just doesn't change.
In some cases, Leo and the Queen are the same person. It just depends. It just depends on what
you see what I did there. You see what I did there? But loyalty.
But listen, it's a true statement, because you know you've never changed, and you know, obviously I know some of the company you keep, and you're still authentic. Everybody in the company is still authentic. You know, given it started with one person, 2, 3, and then it's scaled across Europe, the US, and that's what people buy into the story. That's what people want to be part of it, because that authentic capacity is there. So how do you, on a kind of side tangent, how do you keep your team motivated, inspired?
Whew, that's a mouthful there, Leo.
Because we talk about lots of energy, right? Even though I know you've been traveling, and you know you probably need a couple more coffees just now, and I appreciate your time as always. So how do you keep everybody motivated? Yeah.
The only way I know to do that personally, right, is to lead by example. And I've always done it since day one, even before being, you know, I've always been told I'm a true born leader. I didn't know that, all right? But I've always had the personality traits, which my mentors were kind enough to identify those things bit by bit without overwhelming my mind, my thoughts around it, right? So I am a very hard worker, all right? And sometimes it's about sitting down with the employee and having a chit chat and try to figure out what's going on in their lives, see if I can apply anything I've learned from my own experiences back to just get them up and running. But most days, it's just allow them to see what I do. Yeah. And that alone is enough to just think, goodness me, he's not just giving us orders, he's actually doing what he's asking from us, right? And I've always felt that's one of the greatest motivators to anybody, right? If I have to add on to that, look, it's people are different, they've got different needs, all right? But the one thing I've learned so far, and no matter who I come across, they might deny it, and then I ask a few questions and we always get to the same response. Everybody likes money, right? And it doesn't mean that you don't have other factors that you're passionate about, but ultimately, right, if you work hard at something, money will be associated to it, which will give you the nice vacations or whatever that may be, the nice pints, whatever it is that makes you smile on a day-to-day basis. So if you can correlate those two, I've always found that that's just about enough to get people moving, to try and motivate them as much as possible. But look, in the end, you got to motivate yourself, right? There's only so many tools that I can provide, so many words that I can say, right? If you're not willing to run yourself, forget it, right? And usually that's the sentence that I apply to the team, which is, I can talk all day long, right? I'm good at this, okay? But if you do not want to move, right, nothing will ever happen. One of the good gentlemen from the security community, right? I'm allowed names anyway. Might as well. Ira Winkler, right?
I've got a great legal team, and Ira's a legend.
Would be good. But Ira won't mind this, right? But phenomenal individual, right? In many different ways. Very provocative at times, but that's part. It is, right? And I like that. That's why we go along. But he's always said to me, you know, and he would start the sentence. Nelson, you know this already. You know, you can finish the sentence, and he'll say, you can take the horse to water, but you cannot. And I'm like, you can't force it to drink. And he's like, no, Nelson, you can't stop from pissing on it. Which I've always loved, which ultimately, once he pisses on it, he doesn't want to drink it. All right. So the same applies here, right, Leo? I can do whatever the heck I can to get them there. They got not piss on it, right? And they got to drink it at some point.
Yeah, it's like I like the reverse psychology element that you take as well. You know, you're giving people the pathway, which many CEOs probably do, but it's up to that person to then get themselves over the hill, or the proverbial piss in the water. You know, self-sabotage happens to people. It's up to them to avoid it, which I think is quite good and leads us into our personal insights aspect of this. And what's the most unusual place or situation where you've had a great business idea? Now, I get many of my great ideas when I'm in the bath, much to the disappointment to my family, like, hurry up, get out of the bath. I'm like, no. Or I'm on like a 7-8 hour bender on a flight, and I'm like, that's where the podcast originated from. So yes, what's the most unusual place or situation? Yeah.
You know, a lot of my ideas actually come when I'm suffering, which is from physical activity like running. And the problem is I don't have a notebook, right? So by the time I actually get home, which works in my favor, the 1,000 ideas that streamed through my 3-mile run are all forgotten except the one.
Okay.
All right. So if anything does work towards my in my favor, but if I have to pick the weirdest place, it's the shitter, right? All my thoughts come together right there in the bathroom, okay, in the good old toilets. No one to piss me off if the kids are not putting their fingers down the bloody door or coming to knock because we got an open door policy and whatnot. Or maybe I need to consider that.
Absolutely.
Great ideas come through, but again, it's not like I'm sitting there with a notebook, is it?
Yeah, this is true.
There we go. So a lot goes down the toilet, and only the good ones come out.
I love it. And I'm loving that humorous element here. And if you could have dinner with any 3 entrepreneurs, dead or alive, who would they be?
Oh, that's a good one because there's so many that come to mind. Let's talk about dead one, right? Steve Jobs as an example, right? I try and read as much as I can about him. Even today in the session this morning, someone quoted him in many different ways, right? Amanda just wanted to hire more intelligent people to empower them, right? But what he managed to do to pretty much challenge the status quo when it came down to mobile technology, right? Going against a juggernaut in BlackBerry, that's just phenomenal, right? The guts that he must take to look at that scenario and say, you know what, that doesn't work anymore. This is where the world is going towards. And to then go and sell the idea to people, that's just absolutely amazing. I really appreciate what he did. And until this day, I'm looking at my iPhone, right? I tried to go to the Samsung, I still own it. But Apple is just simplicity, and he created that. He's, in many ways, the founder of what we use today and call very simple, right? I've always liked Richard Branson. Okay, talking about disrupting, right? I don't like the airline, he said. sector, and he changed it, right? He took a risk, right? Again, going against some companies like British Airways and whatnot. So a bit of a madman, isn't it, in many different ways, from the Virgin Group and everything else. But the airline, I think, is the one that really kind of got him up and running, and then the Virgin Group started growing based on that. But if it is correct what they say, you know, the man will jump into a sailing boat and go all the way to the Virgin Islands by himself. Yeah. Right? And that is just incredible, right? Because he was scared of water. Yeah. Right? And to go into the ocean and cross it by yourself, I'm sure he's got probably helicopters, you know, like a good billionaire just chasing or whatnot. But
the fact he chased that because it was his biggest fear, and if you can overcome your biggest fear, you can unlock.
What can stop you, right? What can stop you? And then if I have to pick a third one, there were so many that came into mind, right? Because I'm an athlete myself. I played sports all my life. I did think of someone like Michael Jordan. I love what he did with his underdog story himself, right? If you know about Michael Jordan, he wasn't that good, right? But it was hard work in that particular summer where he decided it wasn't good enough for the team, and he stayed behind to work every single day. And today he's got freaking hell of an empire, right? But the one that I do listen to this day, Oprah Winfrey, right? How did she create this media empire from nothing, from pure poverty, right? And
racial inequality and gender bias and multiple other items that she had to overcome.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. And to me, that's just very, very inspirational. Very inspirational. Right?
I love that. I think I was watching the Michael Jordan item recently on Netflix, and his sheer will and determination, the mental fortitude is incredible. And the
insanity
rest is history. And do you follow any superstitions or routines before you have an important meeting or decisions?
Follow my gut, really. No, I don't have. I'm not a superstitious guy. Most of my family is. They all believe in stuff, you know. I'm not. I've never been scared of walking to the dark when I was a kid and stuff like that. So, no superstitions from my end. No rituals either, you know. Except if you're gonna call a good old pint a ritual, but usually that's what I do.
10 meetings a day like that, or 10 pints of Guinness. But
yeah.
I'm interested if anyone follows any kind of routines. I had a colleague years ago. They had one thing they always had to do, and it was touch the door frame before they'd go in.
Interesting. Yeah.
But then we moved to another building. The door frame was like twice the size of them. And you'd see them run and hit it, and it was a good icebreaker, but it was quite funny. There's been a few almost near misses on that. But in terms of like challenges and successes then, so what's the biggest risk you've taken with the company, and how did it turn out?
Just to launch not ready. Yeah. We just weren't ready. When I look back at it, I smile at it, but it could have gone the other way so rapidly, and you and I would have been sitting down here today.
And I think don't worry guys, that's Reuben leaving the room. I think it's almost like a product mindset, right? Yeah. You just iterate, you get your MVP out there, and then you just adapt, adjust, and then you just see what falls out of the tree. And I love that, you know, bootstrap. How many great companies have just been like, fuck it, let's just go. And then it's like, before you know it, there's bailiffs at the door, you know, taking your TV or whatever may happen. And, you know, for any people out there that are looking to build a company and everything else. And, you know, it's been obviously a great story hearing about CVision. And in terms of the achievement you're most proud of since starting the company, what would it be?
I had a lot of time to think about that one. And, you know, the one answer that I came at, and where I feel really good about it, it allows me to spend more quality time with my family. All right, and to me that was absolutely critical. All right, as I grew up, my family was pretty much dispersed at all given points. Once we left Africa, we weren't really together in the same spot for too long. Right, some of us left, the other ones others were, and you know, I left pretty young to the US, and in the previous organization, I was doing a lot of leg running, and not seeing my kids growing up. And that was hurting me internally, right? And to come up with C vision, to build an organization and still put probably the same amount of work that was putting towards the other organization, right? But somehow enabling myself to spend more quality time with my family. That's to me my biggest achievement, right? Which was like, I can see my kids; they're very attached to me as a father. My wife, when she's not pissed off at me, she's also very happy and whatnot, right? She does like me out of the house because apparently I break structure when I'm home. But yeah, I feel like the quality time that I now get with my kids, it just makes it all worthwhile.
And I think sometimes it's almost paradoxical. Like if you don't start the work, you know, you might miss out obviously in children, but then you get to a point where that kind of inflection moment where you can obviously spend more time with them, you obviously have more security in your life, and then it's almost like, well, if I didn't start this, then, you know, you'd still be working a job that you probably disliked or whatever it may be, and that has that kind of paradoxical element that I think a lot of people are scared to take the leap. But yeah, in terms of vision and future, right, so we've spoken about the past, right? How do you envision the future of your industry over the next 10 years? Or you can relate it to C Vision, you know, what's going to happen in the industry, or I think it's a difficult question because it's multiple industries you work in, right? So, or work with. So what's the next 10 years like then for C Vision?
Yeah, I think the topics are going to determine how we shift, right, for the next 10 years. And right now we talk about AI, like it or not, AI will affect an organization like ours.
Yeah.
Right? 10 years from now, I have a feeling that there will only be 2 or 3 of boutique agencies like ours in existence, right? Because there's been a lot of positive noise where large organizations will come in and acquire smaller companies and whatnot. The same would happen with IBM or whatnot, or Palo Alto acquiring small organizations. It also takes place in the events business, right? Yeah. CRI doing a lot of that as well. So when you look at a decade from now, it'll be interesting to see, you know, the Cynates of the world and the, you know, the event is pretty much gone now with Gartner, as you're probably aware, but all these other players. It'll be very interesting to see if they're still around and if they are actually still based on the same principles that they were founded with, right? I don't think they will. Like I said, there'll be 2 or 3 of us still alive doing what we're really passionate about and not changing the concept, you know, how the company was actually given birth. Yeah. But it's a tough one. It's a really tough one just to look at it because the events business obviously has been up and running now for many, many years, right? But there were so many boutique agencies when it first started, they're all gone now. Right, and you start seeing that just taking place more and more often, quicker. Yeah. Right. So I'm curious to learn about that. Right. It is a question definitely that I do have to. You know, I'm still very good friends with a lot of other CEOs from, you know, the events business. You know, one of them, Robert Rodriguez, as an example, of it is the chairman of Cynet, someone I had respect and learned quite a lot, and, you know, albeit that you can call us competitors, but the guy never fails to pick up a phone call to, which is good, to give me more, to tell me more, and I love that, right? And I try to do the same for whoever decides to call me to ask any sort of questions, right? But that collaboration is the main reason why I believe we will stop existing, right? Because we're either going to merge to do something where we can actually provide a service to the entire community, or we're going to be acquired and washed away because the big Gartner does not like us for what we do, or
it'll cost them.
Whatnot. It'll cost them in many ways,
I think over the next kind of 10 years, things like metaverse, you know, virtualized in a weird reality is just going to be crazy. Like, they'll make me like handsome, you know, they'll make, give you an afro. I mean, God knows where it's going to go, right? But I think that metaverse, obviously your social media stuff will become very relevant. It will almost be like a companion, a C Vision companion, and like for every single one of your entities that you're involved in, so they have a direct virtual interface into the brainchild of C-Vision. Maybe I'm just making this up as I go along. What's a goal or milestone you're working towards right now that excites you?
My next idea. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if it's proprietary, you don't need to divulge it in case it has commercial impacts, but yeah.
Can't talk about it just yet, but it is, I'm the least intelligent of the group. So I'm extremely excited by that. Individuals with a lot of drive. The good news is it doesn't change my daily routine.
Yeah.
All right. So the concept of C-Vision from the very beginning was to have something where I could do other things without hurting the main baby.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So that's pretty much what I've accomplished to do with C-Vision. And unfortunately, once you get the taste of founding something, there's other things that just come into mind. Yeah. Right. And you start surrounding yourself with like-minded people, right? And their brains are going 150 miles an hour, and it's just infectious. There's nothing you can do about it, right? And when you get into a position where you're asked by some great leaders who you've admired all your life since you've actually came into this industry to be part of something as big as I think it will be, it's not something you kind of think twice about. It's just it's like an upgrade on a flight $400 international. You just swipe, please. Do it quick.
And I think the more and more the community expands, the more and more ideas float around, and the more that will obviously inspire you to expand or pivot into other realms and territories. And I think the fact that you're very cognizant and aware that you need to surround yourself by these types of people, because I think hearing a CEO say that it also shows a degree of vulnerability, but also recognises what they need to work on. But also the fact that they get inspired by other people is, I think, super relevant to people, and I think that is definitely going to inspire other folk, because there's nothing worse when you hear a CEO, they're maniacal, or it's all about them, they surround themselves with sycophants, and it's like, some of them were very successful, but there was mass damage. Like, obviously, we're looking at Uber, WeWork, and again, but people still invest in these folk because they just want a quick fix rather than the long-term goal of a CEO who obviously recognises what they need to do. So we're going to go into a fun and quirky aspect of this, right? I don't know how it's going to land, but we'll give it a bash. If you could have any superpower to help you in your business, what would it be and why?
Oh, goodness me. I would love to control a mind.
Okay.
Right? Xavier or something like that, potentially. Because in the industry that I'm in, my biggest challenge is to convince ultimately one side of the customer, who is the vendor, right? The sponsor, the strategic partner, as I try to teach them, you're a partner, right? Because Leo wants you to be a partner, not a vendor, right? I would love to just be able to convince them that, look, your ways don't work. I get it. You're going to say that, well, it worked for that individual. That's brilliant. And as I've been told again this morning by someone from the oil energy industry, right? Whatever worked yesterday and today doesn't necessarily work tomorrow. Yeah. So you constantly have to evolve. And I'm seeing the business evolving. I'm seeing you evolving. This community is evolving. And I spend more time with CIOs and CISOs and whatnot and other CEOs than anybody else. Yeah. So when you're coming in and asking for my help, listen to me. Because I'm not just giving you feedback from my own opinions, right? They mean nothing. I'm giving feedback based on the experiences I'm faced with on a day-to-day basis with the customers you're trying to actually talk to, right? So I would love to just control some minds at times to make our conversations slightly easier. Just slightly easier.
Because you are, in my opinion, within the technology leadership, so that's all C-levels that are involved. You have your finger on the pulse. You're hearing so many different points of view, so many different dynamics. I mean, if you were a trading application, you'd be making people billions probably, right? Yep. And that's what I think that's probably one of your key strengths, and also a key strength of C-Vision. I'm going to make a prediction, right? Obviously, depending on what happens in the next few years, I think you will probably break through into like a Forbes list or a type of kind of, something like that. And it will be on the basis of the community that's been created, and also the overall connection and message that you have been able to share and create. And I would love nothing better to see that and then be like, hey, everybody, I know that guy. I was like, this guy is like, he's involved in so many different things. And, again, listen, we need to have vision. We need to have, we need to try and, have aspirations in these things. And I think, I'm making a bold statement there, but listen, if I can make the Time 100 CISOs, someone from, the ghetto of Glasgow, and get to a point here where I'm interviewing someone I have great admiration and respect for, these things are possible. So if you can dream it, you can envision it, I guess.
Now that you said it, now I have to work towards it. Now I gotta make a reality, right?
Absolutely. I've jinxed you now.
I'm an ambitious guy, right? In many ways, I'm an ambitious guy, but I think of what's next for me, what's next for the company all the times, and you get to a certain level, you just keep pushing yourself, right? You run a mile, then you want to run 2 and 3, and I like that. Let's see about it. Let's see about it. I'm not going to say no to it.
10 years from now, you'll be like, you fucking jinxed me. You've absolutely ruined
that fucking Scots.
I know. They're always fucking so negative, but I love it. And then let me talk about, what's the strangest thing that you've done in the name of business success? I would imagine you're the sort of person who will work an angle, right? I don't know, but yeah.
So I came from that environment of working angles, and I understood that working angles sometimes can hurt the individual that you're working towards, and I did not want to be part of that anymore. If anything, I think, back in the days, I never used to sleep very well. I remember seeing a doctor, a very funny Nigerian doctor, and they gave me a pill that said you put an elephant to sleep so you'll be just fine because you're nothing but a mice. That's what I told him. But the biggest angle that we work today, Leo, is integrity. We walked away from business because we just felt like
your principles would be compromised.
That's it. All right. And we ensure that if we get involved into something, right, we can execute it to a very, very strong level. And if we cannot, we're going to do the right thing by the customer, right? And I like that. I can live with that moment. One of the main reasons for C-Vision was, the amount of friends from marketing that are still losing their jobs because of the investment they were making based on angles, right? And so we made a promise that the only angle that we really want to give is the truth.
Yeah.
Right.
And you've probably, again, I wasn't involved in your past in any capacity, right? But I'd imagine you've become very stoic, going from the hard sales stuff to now creating an environment where it's open, people can talk. If they don't want to talk, no big deal.
It's fine.
And I think that's the best safe space, because there's nothing worse when an executive or a C-level individual turns up at an event and they're like, oh my God, like what was the big event happened recently in the UK? Was it InfoSec?
InfoSec, yeah.
And every single thing I saw on social media was just like, oh, it was a vendor fest, they're just getting harassed, and and again, obviously, that's just a small element that obviously helps support C-Vision. It's obviously the vendor engagement, but even the community side of it, there's always people that are willing to help, offer advice, nothing's pushed. And I think that's what obviously will help C-Vision last the test of time ultimately. But back onto the topics, advice and reflections. So this is where obviously we'll tell our audience, we'll give some tips and stuff and everything else, but what's the one piece of advice you wish you could give your younger self when you were just starting out?
Do it quicker. Yeah, do it quicker. Dwelled for too long and wouldn't. It's a tricky question, isn't it? Because I felt like the time that I did well on is what made me who I am today. However, if I really have to go back and talk to myself again, I'll just say, don't hesitate, go. Right? Just go.
Because I mean, if only we did have a time machine and we could tell our younger selves, like, just trust your instinct, trust that, yes, it's going to be painful, but you're starting a career, and how many people have tried and failed and then get it third time, fourth time, fifth time, and some people just get it first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And What's the common myth about entrepreneurship that you'd like to debunk?
Yeah, good one. So that's not a word I ever thought of to begin with, because in my mind, I never thought I'd be the CEO and the founder of a company to begin with, right? So, however, the one thing that I can sit down here confidently and speak to younger people, or even older people that want to actually come up with a business idea and whatnot, it doesn't need to be groundbreaking. It just doesn't, right? If you're passionate about it and you truly believe in the idea, do it. Because even within failure, you shall find success, right? That failure might just be the door that you needed to open to another avenue, to another opportunity, right? I would like to just completely debunk that. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking. It doesn't have to be the next freaking Disney or whatnot, right? You just have to believe on it and just go for it, right? And if anything, you're gonna learn quite a lot from just doing that. And the amount of doors and opportunities mentally that's going to open to you will be incredible. Incredible.
I like that. I think a lot of people will definitely resonate with that. And how do you define success both personally and for your company?
Yeah, good one. They're both kind of align. From a personal standpoint, I'm happy when others around me are sharing my success, right? If they're happy, I'm happy. If they're growing, I'm growing. As I always like to say, right, the environment in a former company, right, and Jason Cinema will tell you as much since we're throwing names out here, right? It was name dropping a little bit, right? I did say to Jason, so I'm the only witness on his wedding, and I don't like that, right? Because one day when they want to get rid of him, whatever the reasons, they're gonna gun for me as well, right? But we came from this environment where we had to be scared of everything, right? You can do this, you cannot do that, and God knows what else would, come from it. And more importantly, they didn't want us to grow, right? What they did want to grow was fear, right? Now, unfortunately, when you look at my background, as I told you already, right, I come from the ghetto. I've seen guns and bullets, I've seen dead people, right? So the last thing you probably should try with someone like me is to provide me a motivational factor, which is fear, because that's all you're doing, right? You motivated me to go and do something greater, but you just don't realize it, right? In between that. So to me, it's extremely important that my success is shared with my people, right? If you look around, these guys are happy. And if they're not, I'm the first one to say, just look, walk away, I'll give you the best reference ever. And it's fine. You don't have to be with Say Vision for the rest of your life. It's not gonna happen. But if in that period of time you've been with Say Vision, we can teach you something where you can take it somewhere else and be a better individual, I'm happy. Right? Sounds weird, but that is what really makes me be happy.
I think it's a key component in any leadership. I think absolutely where you nurture folk, you empower them and you allow them to effectively grow, and if they're happy, then of course you're going to be happy, because that's part of your culture and your dynamic. If it's only about one person in a company, then it's just going to implode eventually, as I've experienced through my career at different companies. But I won't drop any names.
MDAs are still alive, are they?
If you could create a rule that everyone in the world had to follow, what would it be?
A rule that everybody in the world would have to follow. Any rule?
Any.
Right. Smile back when people smile at you. Right? There's some sad bastards out there. And just how miserable can you be?
We're in London.
Right?
So,
and I see it a lot. It's just like, how bad is your life really? Right? If you don't enjoy it, you walk into work and, you see me, you think I'm a madman because I'm walking the streets and I'm smiling. Right? God knows for what reasons. Even on my worst days, I'm smiling. Right? That's just the way I am. And people might think I'm crazy, right? But when I smile at somebody, right, I expect a smile back, for Christ's sake, right? It cannot be that bad, right? Not when you're wearing a suit or you're drinking a Starbucks, right? Life cannot be that bad, right? So I was told once, I call him the General, Kash's son. He's in Singapore these days. I learned quite a lot from him when I was at GDS and whatnot. And he also joined us at the former company, whatnot, CDM, right? And he's always said pressure what you mean about pressure in life, right? Pressure is those African ladies waking up, right, with the reality that they don't have any food to feed their kids, right? That is pressure, right? That individual doesn't have many reasons to smile, yet they're still smiling, right? When you think about it, they still find a way to smile. So who are we to walk in the streets with a Starbucks, right? And not give a smile back when someone is just smiling back, saying hello to you, right? So that's the one rule I would love to see it. I try with Reuben all the time.
I'm trying not to look at him.
Just
because he's going to
right?
smile.
Just smile back, yeah? Just smile back, right? Just you smile at people, right? And people should, or majority of people actually do, but people should smile back, and they should at least feel a bit happier that there's someone out there trying to make your day slightly better. You know?
Absolutely, and it becomes infectious, you know, and that's the one thing. Speaking of Reuben, every time I see him, always has a smile on his face, and and it warms my heart, my cold, glacier Scottish heart. So I think then, obviously, to kind of wrap things up then, you know, give me some advice then for people starting out and people currently as a CEO.
People starting and people
who are currently a CEO.
People starting, you only get one shot at this if you don't try it. If you try it, you're going to get many other shots, right? You're going to get many other opportunities, like I said previously, right? From a CEO standpoint, I've learned a lot, all right? And without your people, you'll be nothing, all right? So try and focus a bit more in understanding the needs of your people without also sacrificing the needs of the business. So if you can identify the business as people, then I think you manage to find great synergy in between employee and company, right? But that's as tough as it gets, right? I still haven't accomplished that just yet, because it goes back to a lot of the motivator factors that we actually spoke about previously before, right? I need to somehow make them see the company as another employee, right? And in between the two, we can achieve great things.
I love it. And then, we'll wrap the episode up. And again, thanks so much for your time. Honestly, it's been something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and obviously sit down and get more of an insight around C-Vision International. And we'll obviously plug the company. We'll add the website address and everything else that's needed. And again, for our audience, please like, sub, and share. Thanks.
Pleasure was all mine, Leo. Thank you. Great stuff. Really appreciate you having me, and hopefully we get a few likes.